Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would like to talk first a little bit about today's topic also, so wikis in organizations and my view on this, which is quite complementary to things that have been presented already. And then just very briefly, I want to go into some research topics that might also be of interest to you practitioners. So yes, I've been very active in the MediaWiki and Semantic MediaWiki community. I think I started with version 0.9 or something like that as a user. Oops, interesting. Maybe let's change back this setting here. This didn't work now. Okay, so yeah, I've been an active member for quite some time. My company, KMA, Knowledge Management Associates, we do consulting and training for knowledge management generally, but with MediaWiki, as I call it, we also are dedicated to an open source stack based on MediaWiki and Semantic MediaWiki that we provide and implement also for our customers. As Jeffrey has mentioned, we are partnering with MyWikis to provide MyWikis Europe. Yes, and I was crazy enough during the pandemic to go back to university and start a PhD about knowledge graphs and wikis. So this all fits very well, but it's time is the constraint, not the interest and the activities that you could do. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about some different aspects of what are wikis in organizations. When would you use a wiki and when would you maybe want to stay away from it? Who of you in this room know what SUS and UTAUT mean? SUS, have heard about this? No? UTAUT? Okay, so that's the research part, but it's not going to be boring, I promise. And then I also have a call to action, an invitation actually, so how we can move forward. We have talked about this a little bit, right? So a typical landscape in an organization often looks like this. You have this documents world, and I'm also convinced that we need to try to convey that documents are not they're artifacts, as you call them, but sometimes they are needed. You know, this PowerPoint presentation is an artifact. It's a document. It will never be a wiki probably. So we have this world of document management. Obviously, we have this world of databases, desktop databases, specialized applications for certain tasks that we either create ourselves or we buy in. We have this website topic, and then we have wikis, and very often traditional wikis have a kind of a niche that they cover, especially when there are, I would say, text-only wikis, like plain MediaWiki, or there is even a wiki in Teams, Microsoft Teams. I've heard 2 independent Microsoft consultants who say that's the first thing that they deactivate because they don't think that the wikis in Teams are a good thing. So all kinds of applications try to provide something like a wiki. We wiki people know these are not good wikis usually. And then we have this communication task, you know, video conferencing, email chat, and also this social intranet topic. That's interesting. And we know, right, the Wikimania was actually quite a while back. Wikis became well known through Wikipedia, but they were actually nothing that groundbreaking, right? Technology-wise, it is a hypertext system, so linked texts with a database. Some wikis had not even a database. It has a very simple user interface. Well, you can argue about that, but it has to be as simple so people can just click on edit and you don't have to do courses for them. You have a full text search. The interesting part was more the social software aspect, right? So everyone can make those changes. This actually the initial idea of the World Wide Web was first realized in wikis, because the World Wide Web didn't work that way. You had to find some nerd who could do HTML and you know, put up your website. And we have this wisdom of the crowd. We all know this from Wikipedia. From a knowledge perspective, I find it very interesting that this knowledge creation on the fly, you don't have to consider too much your structure. Am I allowed, am I in the role to be allowed to add something here at this position? You just create a wiki page and you just type. And I have actually not seen this in any other software actually than MediaWiki, the power of red links. Because if you follow a red link on MediaWiki, it will not tell you error, mistake, there's something broken. It will tell you, oh, this has not been created yet. Can I invite you to create this? And this is a very, very powerful mechanism. If you know all other hyperlinks that are dead, red links are not dead links. You even have in MediaWiki the list of all most wanted pages, which is just a measure of this. So this is very powerful, I think, and I could not find it anywhere else actually. And yeah, you have some years ago I had this slide with more than 150 wiki engines. So now it's only 80. There was also the time of semantic wikis. There's only one left, that's Semantic MediaWiki. So it's the only one that survived, and I strongly believe the reason for it is not so much the greatness of Semantic MediaWiki, in which I strongly believe, but it is because it was a part of the MediaWiki ecosystem. So as long as we have Wikipedia, there will be MediaWiki. So, and since Semantic MediaWiki is integrated in that, we have this ecosystem. And other great semantic wikis, they, as open source projects come and go, they are not there anymore. And there is this website. Oh yeah, first one other aspect. Of course, now we are talking not about Wikipedia. Wikimedia Foundation does a lot of great projects like Wikipedia, but also Wikidata and other projects that we know about. We are now talking about the software, and the question is, should we use the software in our organizations? So we can go to this website, wikimatrix.org. You will, as MediaWiki knowledgeable people, immediately recognize it's out of date a little bit, yeah, because 1.32 is not really the latest version. But still, I mean, this is a nice website in my opinion, because you can compare, how all those 80 wiki engines, and we talked about Confluence, right? XWiki is interesting because it's also open source, but it's Java based. So if you were, if Carsten would reconsider now which way to start, and it would have to be Java, maybe XWiki could be something. This is also interesting for the public sector. The German state of Schleswig-Holstein has a very strict open source strategy, and they say if we're going to do wikis, it's going to be XWiki. So this is also, I think, XWiki can be quite interesting. So if you look at the details, you can also compare features here. You see, well, they're all wikis, so they very often have the basic wiki functionality that we all know, right? So you have this page history, minor changes, comments, and interesting here is the structured data. This is where Semantic MediaWiki comes in, right? So you have this in Confluence via plugin. It's also there in XWiki. It's also quite easy to set it up. This is important. Yeah, so when do I use a wiki? I would say if you cannot get rid of your documents, I would not, even if we have seen, I think Rich has presented several years ago, really a document management by MediaWiki, so it can be done. If you want to really try to convince we need a single source of truth, you can do it, but I would not recommend if a client would say, I have these documents, I want to manage them, I would not recommend them a wiki. You need something where you go to the content of the documents. So your quality management handbook can be a PDF document or a set of documents, but it can be a set of wiki pages. So you need a use case where you don't have to have these documents. Of course, you can upload documents also in a wiki, and it's quite powerful actually. But if you really have to be in this electronic document world where you have electronic signatures in Austrian public administration, we can have official electronic signatures, things like that. Then you are in the document world. We know interlinking is very hard. So I've seen examples of this where people try to to make links between Word documents on a file share. It's a mess, and you don't want to have it. Yeah, so, and with semantic MediaWiki or with some kind of structuring mechanism, you can also have database functions in your wiki with the page forms, we've seen this, or with other forms extensions. Of course, you can upload documents, especially if there are documents from external parties, or if there are companioning manuals or something like that. This is also possible. So, if you have a use case where you say, I can manage the content differently than before, differently than in documents, then I think wikis are the way to go. If you have to stick with your PowerPoint, Excel sheets, PDF documents, then you should maybe think more about document management systems. And one other important part, and also this has been covered, is actually two aspects. One aspect is in content management systems that are usually used to power websites, you have a backend, right? If you know WordPress, Drupal, they all have a backend, so you can prepare an article, and once you're finished, you click on publish, and then it goes out to the front end. On a wiki, there's no backend. So the advantage is you don't have to learn the backend. It's just all is a wiki page. And what you see is what you get, not in the editor so much maybe, but you know, everything is a wiki page. This is one thing, but more importantly, how content management systems, they are strong in providing access control on different content types. So you want to make sure that the first page of the NASA website will not be edited by, you know, the newcomer in the organization. Of course, so now you have these type of software. Here are some examples, and I put Confluence and XWiki a little bit on this direction because they call themselves enterprise wikis, and enterprise wikis. They say, well, we can have better access control than MediaWiki, and they can. I'm not convinced that it's always a good idea, because we talked about this. If you have access control, it will be used. And it's actually the lack of access control, fine-grained access control, is actually more a feature, not a lack of a feature, because it enables this cultural change. And one of my aims is to convince people about this, you know. And they say, what in our wiki, the other departments of our organization can all look into it. They can change things. And I say, yes, they could, but they will not. Probably they will not. And you will be happy if they do, because they would collaborate with you. And in practice, it's not going to happen. So we don't have the problem of any violent edits. So we don't have this problem in an organization with named users. So the wiki solves this by radical transparency, which is a good start for knowledge management, because we need this culture of knowledge sharing in our organizations. So this is where really wikis shine, and especially MediaWiki shine. We just have to sell it differently. It is a weakness that, you know, I cannot close things down in MediaWiki. It is on technical basis, it is a weakness, but it is also a strength from an organizational point of view. So, so many IT systems come with the first question: who is allowed access? And you have to think, who do you want to allow something, and who you want to keep out. MediaWiki says, you know, I'm here. You just read me, edit me, yeah, for everyone. Yeah, and then we also have this topic of the intranet, the first intranets where you had this gatekeeper problem, that who is able to add anything to the intranet, is it relevant enough? So it's both a technical and an organizational bottleneck. In a social network, there were also experiments, you know, in large organizations, how would you do social media inside your organization? It's about connecting users with each other who have same interests, same problems. In a wiki, the focus is on the content. So you really want to create this wiki document or wiki page, or set of wiki pages. And the gardeners are not administrators, gatekeepers, but they just help you. So that's why it's called wiki gardening, because you know, there are some flowers that somebody put in, and you want to maybe, you know, interlink them or do some refactoring. So they are basically helping our knowledge workers here to get this wiki article right. Social functions can be there, so you can follow edits of another person, things like that. But it's really more about, we want to generate good content, good documentation. Yeah, and this is a very subjective slide, so I don't know if Confluence specialists are in the room. I mean, of course, Confluence has a great editor. Yeah, much better than a visual editor, I would say. It is great. You have this real-time editing, but up to now we didn't have it. But maybe as of this conference, we will have it in MediaWiki as well. So it's nice. You can start a Confluence page that you never save, but you send the link to your colleague for typing the meeting minutes. Nobody ever saves this page, but it still gets saved. And no, not true, Carsten?
Dangerous.
Dangerous, okay.
Forget about it.
Okay. Well, I've used it as a user, so I'm interested in it. And Confluence will then say, this is a non-saved page. Would you like to save it now? Something like that. You have very fine-grained access permissions, of course. You have ready-to-use templates. That's interesting. That's maybe something that OpenCSP tries to cover. You can just fire up templates for meeting minutes or for project whatever. So they are built in. And it's easy to create tasks for other users. That's also something that Miriam has brought to MediaWiki. But of course, the disadvantages are it's becoming more and more expensive. And it's proprietary, or at least many parts of it are. The vendor Atlassian wants to force the customers into the cloud, so on-premise is problematic. For MediaWiki users, very odd are the templates. I mean, if you have a project template or a meeting template, you can change it and you build one page for my meeting, and then you change the meeting template, but this page will not change. So I was like, what? What's the purpose of this template? Because in MediaWiki, this is actually the power. If you remove something from the template, on all the pages, we will have this change. This is not possible, I think, or at least from the standard templates in Confluence. Yeah, the structuring of data is very limited, or might need extra extensions. There are, I don't think, any semantic web standards, so no knowledge graph there. Corporate design, it always looks the same, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on how you look at it. If I see one Confluence, I think I've seen them all. So this is a very subjective evaluation. Okay, so now, but we now come into the research part that really connects to there, because one thing is called System Usability Scale. It's actually very old, done by Brook in 1996. So he called it even a quick and dirty usability scale. And the reason he said we need, it's complex, but we need something for a quick and dirty method that will allow us low-cost assessment of usability. So he developed the System Usability Scale. And he also said it was always intended to measure just one aspect of usability, that's the subjective perception. So how do I perceive how usable this system is? And it's a very simple 9-question questionnaire. It is actually available in several languages, because it's also the question, how do you phrase it in German? And so if you are in research, you cannot say this is easy. So, but there are several versions of it. And you can see those questions here from 1 to strongly agree, strongly disagree, to 5 strongly agree. So this is easy, 9 questions, and you think, well, this cannot be very valid, no? Can it? Because it's really very basic. But researchers have on and on tried to actually maybe fight against this one and say, no, this is of no use. But it's not bad. It's not bad. So, and I would really encourage you to do this for your wikis. There are even online tools where you can really easily administer this. And I've done this now for my PhD thesis. I've collected data from 4 different wikis, 2 of them being Confluence. One is from an IT department of a public sector institution. The other is from a not IT institution, but from a technologically oriented, very public sector near organization. they both use Confluence. And I have two MediaWikis. One MediaWiki, I can spoil this one because it has the best rating, is the Vienna History Wiki. But remember, I did not ask the end users. I only asked the users in the city of Vienna. So because I'm interested in the organizational aspect. So the Vienna City Archives and the Vienna Library, they have an editorial staff, and they use it. Some of those people use it on a daily basis. So they got very high scores here. And then there is also a public sector related smaller organization with only 25 persons. And they have a problematic wiki because in this landscape, it is about to be probably shut down in the foreseeable future. So the usage is low, and there was hardly any investment in improving things over the last years. So, and knowing these 4 wikis, this is a pretty good picture, actually. So, I mean, if you don't have the in-depth knowledge, but so even this was my first evaluation, I thought, yeah, well, this is really interesting. And the question is really now, is this Confluence managed better than this one, maybe? Could be. That's interesting. Certainly, this MediaWiki is better than this one, but more to due to the organizational things behind it. So yeah, and so you have this scale of the best imaginable, and this is interesting. So it's really a quick and dirty thing, but it does tell you something about those wikis. Okay, a step further, it gets a little bit more complicated. The UTAUT, or I would call it UTAUT, maybe just is the Unified Theory of Acceptance and Use of Technology. It's not that old, but also old. Venkatesh invented this in 2003 based on acceptance of technology methodologies that were there before. So the main idea that the actual use behavior, that's what you want. So people are using the wiki, is determined by behavioral intention, and this is we have this direct effects on this from those 4 key constructs. So there's the performance expectancy, an effort expectancy, so how hard is it going to be? The social influence, are my peers also, do they want me to work in the wiki? And there are facilitating conditions, and then there are also predictors like the gender, the age, the experience, and the voluntariness of use. So, and with this model, there's also a questionnaire. It's a little bit longer, but not that much longer, where you would get data on this. There have been in 2012 the UTAUT 2 model that has more of those influences. So your own hedonic motivation. The price value, that's interesting because it actually was there's a lot of research going on. Why are people using mobile phones, things like that. The habit, and they dropped the voluntariness of use down here. And there are several other extensions from other researchers that add things here, like compatibility with other solutions, the education, the personal innovativeness, social presence, immediacy, concurrency, technology experience. So there are really a lot of different additions to it. So this is the call to action, because what could we do? Why isn't that in the wiki? We want to really find out. Yeah, why isn't it in the wiki? What's the reason behind it? So this is basically my research question. Why do some wikis work great while others fail? And what are the reasons for it? So there are research aspects. So what UTAUT extensions are needed to best explain the wiki usage? You cannot administer all of them. It's too much. So I want to make it the smallest possible model that would very well predict the usage. So that's the research aspect. And by the way, wiki research is dominated by research in Wikipedia. So there's research in wikis and organizations is really lacking. Also those two methodologies are dominated by non-wiki applications, right? So for all kinds of systems, e-government systems, mobile phones, AI, so there are papers on it, thousands of papers with this UTAUT model, for example. And there are very practical aspects. So what advice can we give to organizations? I mean, I agree with a lot that has been said out of the or can be done within one organization. But you know, if you really want to compare it across organizations, this is a lot of work. I think this is beyond my PhD, maybe. We'll see. But yes, the combination of those of qualitative and quantitative approaches would be.
But not interviews, but probably behavioral data, like how many views, edits, and all the stuff you spoke about. I mean, this is interviews is really a tough thing.
Yeah, this is what you do here actually, because the use behavior, this is not. Is also in the questionnaire. So how often do you use the wiki? And people tell you something, but it's better to have here actual data where you say, okay, this user from this questionnaire has really done this many edits. The problem here is data protection and getting into those data, but you could do it for your own wiki. The use behavior is at best not being asked, but being measured in the logs.
Yeah. Bernhard, thank you. I also like your presentation because it goes into these details and actually what you're doing there is measuring. And my question would be, or my comment also would be in the direction of using the logs. I share your pain with, hey, there's data protection acts and whatnot. But still, for the wikis that I've seen, we've got all those logs. And what I find interesting is just simply looking on how often did people change things, how long did it take, and one thing I'd be interested in is finding out how many errors did they introduce. So we've got these comparisons these days. Checking like human work was hard in the past, but I think these days we can simply use an artificial intelligence and other humans and have a cross-check. Did you look into that? Like finding out is that actually okay what I've put in there? Is the coverage okay? Is the content okay? No,
I did not look into this thing. This is typically done in Wikipedia research, things like that, yeah. You can find a lot of papers on this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.